Magandang umaga Malacanang Press Corps, Trabaho Bill. Yan po ang topic natin sa ating Weekly Economic Forum. Today we have Assistant Secretary Tony Lambino.
Salamat, Rocky. Good morning and welcome to the weekly economic briefing jointly hosted by the Economic Development Cluster and PCOO. During the 2018 State of the Nation address, President Duterte thanked Congress for the timely passage of the train law, underscoring that through train, funds had been made available for better infrastructure, health, and education. He also added that resources to help poor families and senior citizens cope with rising prices were made available through the legislative measure. The President also urged Congress to pass Package 2 of the Comprehensive Tax Reform Program, which will make our tax system simpler, fairer, and more transparent. He said that we cannot deliver on the promise of a more comfortable life for all without an equitable tax system. Since then, Speaker Arroyo has stated that the bill is a legislative priority, and Senate President Soto filed his own version of the bill. To present the key features of Package 2, named Trabaho Bill by the House Committee of Ways and Means, we have with us this morning my boss, Undersecretary Carl Kendrick Chua, and for additional Department of Finance matters, we have also asked Assistant Secretary Paula Alvarez to join us. Undersecretary Chua.
Maraming salamat, Asek Tony. Magandang tanghali po sa lahat. Ang ibabahagi ko po ngayon ay yung Package 2 ng ating Comprehensive Tax Reform, ang Corporate Income Tax and Fiscal Incentives Reform. Ang iba ay tinatawag itong Train 2 o yung Trabaho Bill, Tax Reform for Attracting Better and High-Quality Opportunities. Ang ipapaliwanag ko po ngayon sa inyo ay yung layunin kung bakit ginagawa natin ang Package 2 at yung resulta ng ating cost-benefit analysis para malaman natin kung yung binibigay nating incentives ay bumabalik sa atin sa pamamagitan ng mas maraming trabaho, investment, productivity at exports. Ang unang dahilan kung bakit ginagawa natin ang reformang ito ay dahil napakataas ang ating corporate income tax rate o yung tax rate na binabayad ng mga korporasyon, maliit o malaki man, banyaga o domestic, 30% po ng net income. Yung ating karatig bansa ay binaba na nila ang corporate income tax rate nila mula 20 to 25%. Kaya ang unang gagawin natin sa ating reforma ay ibaba ang corporate income tax. Pero ang ibig sabihin nito ay hindi malaki ang collection natin dahil mababa ang ating productivity. Yung Pilipinas in 2016 sa ating 30% corporate income tax, 3.7% of GDP lamang ang kinokolekta natin. Ginawa nating percent of GDP para makumpara natin sa ibang bansa. Ang productivity natin 12.3%. Kung ikukumpara natin yung Vietnam halimbawa, yung kanilang corporate income tax rate ay 20%. Mas mababa sa atin. Pero ang collection nila 7.1%. Ang kanilang revenue productivity or efficiency ay 35.6%. Isa lamang ang dahilan dito. Mataas ang ating rate pero napakakitid ng ating tax base. Ibig sabihin, marami ang exempted. Sa Vietnam naman, mababa ang kanyang tax rate pero halos lahat ng babayad. Kunti lang yung exemption. Kaya mas patas. Yan po yung problema na ayusin natin sa Package 2. Sa kabilang kamay, mayroon pa tayong napaka-komplikadong tax incentive system. Tayo lang ang nag-iisang bansa sa ating region na nagbibigay ng incentives na forever. Ibig sabihin, kung nabigyan na, hindi na binababawi yan. Forever na na-enjoy. Meron po tayong 14 na investment promotion agencies tulad ng PEZA, BOI. Meron po tayong 123 investment laws and 192 non-investment laws. Sila po ay lahat nagbibigay ng incentives. Kaya kung ikaw ay isang accountant, kailangan mo i-memorize ang lampas sa 300 laws. Tapos meron din tayong 911 na ecozones, kaya mahirap din i-manage lahat to. Yung ibang bansa po, halos isa lang o dalawa ang IPAs, isa o dalawa lamang ang batas kung saan nanggagaling ang mga incentives at hindi po forever ang pagbigay ng incentives, 20 years ang maximum na nakikita namin. Next slide. Ayan, nakita niyo forever pa rin yan. So next slide. Ang dulot ng ating dalawang sistema ay malaki ang hindi pagkapantay-pantay. Ang mga kumpanya na walang incentives nagbabayad ng 30%. Pero yung mga may incentives, mababa, 6 to 13% lamang ang binabayaran nila. At halos lahat ng small and medium enterprises, 90,000 po sila, ay nagbabayad ng 30%. Pero yung may incentives, yung mga malalaki at yung mga foreign, halos 0 to 5% on gross lamang. In 2015, 301 billion ng incentives ang binigay natin. Kaya kami sa Department of Finance, gusto namin malaman kung bumabalik ba talaga ang napakalaking halagang na nabibigay natin. Dahil sa TIMTA Law or ang Tax Investment Management Transparency Act na pinasa ng nakaraang Kongreso, ay alam na natin kung magkano talaga ang binigyan nating incentives. Yung pwedeng income tax holiday or zero ang binabayad mula 4 hanggang 8 taon o yung special rate na 5%. Ayon sa TIMTA Law, ang resulta ay ang mga sumusunod. Sa 2015, 301 billion ang binigay nating incentives sa 2,844 firms. Ang breakdown ay may income tax incentives, customs duties, VAT, and so on. Sa 2016, yung preliminary na nasimulan na namin, sa income tax incentive lamang, from 86 billion sa 2015, lumaki na ito sa 121 billion. In customs duties din, lumaki din ng malaki. Mas malaki yung nilaki niya. Kaya yung subtotal niyan, yung 104 sa 2050, naging 179. Hindi pa namin tapos yung pag-compute. Pero ito ay ini-enjoy lamang ng 3,102 firms. So ngayon, siyempre kami, okay lang kami magbigay ng incentives, basta bumabalik siya in benefits. Yan yung papaliwanag ko ngayon sa ating cost-benefit analysis. Simula po tayo sa Foreign Direct Investment or FDI. Ang isang dahilan kung bakit tayo nagbibigay ng incentive ay ma-attract po tayo ng mas maraming FDI. Pero ang Pilipinas, kahit na forever at napaka-generous ang incentives na binibigay, halos wala po ang pinagbago sa ating FDI. Yung itim na line, yan yung Philippines. Ikumpara po natin sa ating mga neighboring countries na hindi forever ang incentives, sila ay nakaka-attract ng mas maraming FDI. Baka ang dahilan dito ay kulang sa infrastructure, sa skills. Yan po ang bibigay natin ng pansin ngayon, hindi lamang yung incentives. Ang pangalawang dahilan kung bakit nagbibigay po tayo ng incentive ay ma-promote ang ating export sector. Pero kahit na lumalaki po ang peso or dollar value ng export, yan yung violet line, pabagsak naman po ang export to GDP ratio, yan yung orange na line. Yan ang mas mahalagang indicator kung productive or competitive tayo. At hindi lamang ang export sector ang hindi competitive, yung domestic value added or domestic supply chain natin ay hindi rin malaki. Ibig sabihin, halos lahat ng mga parts imported na ina-assemble dito tapos ina-export. Kulang po yung ang benefit na napupunta sa domestic sector tulad ng trabaho. Ngayon po, hindi po kami tutol sa pagbigay ng incentives. In fact, kami ay pro-investment and pro-incentive. Pero gawin po nating mas patas at mas may pananagutan ang ating incentive. Kasi kung ang isang incentive na binibigay natin sa bawat piso na binibigay, ay ito ay bawas sa budget natin, sa education, sa health, sa infrastructure, na nagbe-benefit sa lahat, hindi lamang sa selected few. Kaya ang mungkahi namin going forward, dapat ang lahat po ng incentive ay mag-follow po sa ating 4 na prinsipyo. Una po ay performance-based. Hindi pwedeng magbigay lang ng incentive na walang kapalit. I-measure na natin yung trabaho, yung exports or productivity. Halimbawa, kung kayo ay kumuha po ng isang scholarship, hindi naman binibigay sa inyo forever at walang kapalit. Kailangan mag-graduate kayo, ma-meet nyo yung minimum grade requirement. Yan po ang ibig sabihin ng performance-based. Pangalawa, targeted. Hindi naman pwede lahat ng sector, halos 300 plus, ay bibigyan ng incentive. Kailangan natin alamin kung ano talaga ang sector na may pinakamalaking pakinabang sa ating bansa at sila ay tulungan natin. Pangatlo po ay yung time-bound. Hindi po pwedeng forever, everlasting ang incentive. Hindi po pwedeng bigyan ng allowance yung anak natin kahit mag-graduate na sila sa college. Tulungan natin yung mga kumpanya na maliliit, yung infant industry, pero pag lumaki na sila, sila naman ay magtulong, ibalik nila yung tulong na binigyan ng gobyerno. Yan po ang ibig sabihin ng time-bound. At panghuli ay transparent. Kung ako ay magbigay ng incentive, kailangan ko i-tax ang isa pang grupo ng mas mataas. Ginagawa po natin yan sa nakaraan sa 32% na personal income tax or 12% na VAT. Kaya nararapat na kung magbigay ng incentive, alam ng buong bansa kung saan po nang galing sa hirap at yung pawis po ng mga ordinaryong Pilipino. At kung masusunod ito, ay tuloy po ang pagbigay ng incentive. Pero kung hindi po masusunod ito, dapat bawasan na natin kasi mas may malaking dahilan at reason kung bakit natin kailangan ilaan yung pera sa ibang mga pangunahing programa. Ngayon, sa second part ng aking presentation, papakita ko po ang resulta ng cost-benefit analysis. Malalim po yung analysis, pero ang gagawin ko po ngayon ay yung highlights lamang. At pwede nyo naman tingnan yung detalye sa aming website. Ginagawa po natin ang cost-benefit para malaman kung yung 301 billion na binigay natin in 2015 ay nakabalik at naka-benefit sa ating bansa. Kasi kung naka-benefit naman, tuloy po natin ang incentives. Pero kung hindi, kailangan na natin bawasan ito para ilaan sa mas mahalagang programa. 4 po yung aming methodology. Mabilis ko lamang papaliwanag. Yung una po, alamin po natin ang implicit labor subsidy. Magkano ang kailangan para makalikha ng isang trabaho? Pangalawa ay yung counterfactual analysis. Ikumpara natin ang isang firm or kumpanya na tumatanggap ng incentive sa isa pang kumpanya na hindi tumatanggap ng incentive. At tingnan natin kung mas magaling talaga ang kumpanya na tumatanggap ng incentive sa pamamagitan ng paglikha ng trabaho, exports, or productivity. Pangatlo ay sa bawat incentive na binigay, magkano talaga ang bumabalik sa atin in taxes from VAT, from the multiplier effect, at yung mga sweldo dahil mas maraming trabaho na ang nalikha. At pagsamahan po natin lahat ay yung direct and indirect or total benefit or accounting of benefit and cost ang titingnan po natin. So ano po yung resulta ng ating cost-benefit analysis? Una po, on average, para makalikha ng isang trabaho, kailangan po natin maglaan ng 257,281 peso kada taon para lang sa isang trabaho. At 104 billion po ang nilaan natin in 2015 para makalikha ng 402,000 jobs. Pangalawa po, sa ating counterfactual analysis, sa statistics ang methodology ay tinatawag na propensity score matching. Ang ginawa natin ay ikumpara ang isang IPA-registered firm na tumatanggap ng incentive at isang non-IPA registered firm na walang incentive. At ang nakita po namin sa aming analysis ay in general, registered firms when compared to non-registered firms ay halos walang pinagbago or pinag-iba sa level of employment, sa average wage, pero mas mataas pa sila magsweldo sa kanilang top management. Sila ay nag-i-invest ng mas marami in fixed assets, pero ito ay obvious kasi bago makatanggap ng incentive, kailangan mag-invest, pero kulang sa R&D or research and development. Ang exports to sales nila halos pantay at walang pinagkaiba sa productivity. Kaya sa aming pananaw, baka maraming incentives ay unnecessary. Papaliwanag ko mamaya ang ibig sabihin nito. Yung pangatlong resulta ay yung kada incentive or kada piso of incentive na binibigay natin, nakikita po namin ay 32 centavos lamang ang bumabalik. Tapos kung sinama po natin ang unnecessary incentives, 86 centavos lamang ang bumabalik. Ibig sabihin, hindi po lampas ng 1 peso ang bumabalik. Kaya may pagkasayang din ang pagbigay ng incentives. Bago ko paliwanag yung panghuling resulta, papaliwanag ko muna ang pinagkaiba ng necessary and unnecessary incentives. Una po, kung napakatagal na ang incentives na ini-enjoy ng isang kumpanya, baka unnecessary na. Kasi sila ay tinulungan, lumaki na, at sana sila ay tumulong sa gobyerno o sa ating bansa. Halimbawa po, ang aming nakita po sa TIMTA results, 645 ang bilang ng kumpanya na lampas 15 years na ang incentive nila. Yung iba, halos 40 years na. So, ang pananaw po namin ay tinulungan na natin sila na lumaki mula infant to adulthood. Ngayon ay sila ay kumikita at lumago na sila. Baka pwede naman sila ang tumulong sa atin. Yan po ang ibig sabihin ng isang unnecessary incentive. Pangalawa ay yung high profitability. Ano ang ibig sabihin nito? Kung ang isang kumpanya ay napakalaki ang kita, tapos ang dividend sila ay napakalaki din, ibig sabihin, ang isang bahagi ng kanilang kita ay binabalik nila sa may-ari in terms of dividends, ay baka hindi na kailangan. At nakikita po namin sa aming analysis ay halos 55 billion more in dividends ang binabalik ng mga firms receiving incentives sa kanilang may-ari or mga kanilang owners. Kaya ang naisip po namin, kailangan ba talaga bigyan ng incentives kung napaka-profitable naman ang ilang kumpanya na baka hindi na kailangan. At yung pangatlong rason ay yung primary motivation o pangunahing layunin kung bakit nag-invest po ang isang investor. Unnecessary siya kung ang pangunahing layunin ay domestic market seeking. Ibig sabihin, pumunta po sila sa ating bansa dahil may sure market, may bibili ng kanilang produkto. Kaya hindi na kailangan yung incentive. Ang pangalawang unnecessary reason ay yung resource seeking. Ibig sabihin, pumunta po sila sa ating bansa dahil may lupa, may yaman sa lupa or minerals, may Filipino talent na wala naman sa Vietnam or China. Yan sa pananaw namin ay hindi kailangan bigyan ng incentive. Pero kung ang pangunahing layunin nila ay export, efficiency seeking, or footloose, ibig sabihin pwede silang pumunta sa Vietnam or India or China, yan po ang tulungan natin. At dahil dito, nakita po namin as a final result, pag pinagsama po natin ang lahat, ang every peso that we give in incentive, only 60 centavos up to 1 peso and 15 centavos ang bumabalik. Ibig sabihin, may mga incentive na sayang kasi costly, hindi humahabol ang benefit. Meron ding mas mataas yung benefit. Ibig sabihin, lampas sa 1 peso. Nakita po namin na ang agriculture, ang kanyang benefit to cost ratio ay between 73 centavos to 1 peso and 20 centavos. Again, kung lampas sa 1 ang benefit to cost ratio, ibig sabihin mas malaki ang benefit. Pero kung mas mababa sa 1 ang benefit to cost ratio, ibig sabihin mas maliit ang benefit. Kaya yung lampas sa 1 ang papaborin natin. Pero yung mas mababa sa 1 ang sa tingin namin unnecessary. So makikita nyo sa manufacturing, between 81 centavos hanggang 1 peso and 34 centavos. So mix. Sa non-manufacturing, sa construction, housing, mining ay medyo mababa. Sa services din, medyo mababa. So on average, sa buong bansa natin, between 60 centavos to 1 peso and 15 centavos ang bumabalik. Ngayon, to summarize, ito po ang resulta. Number 1, to create 1 job, it costs taxpayers 257,000 at least. So mahal siya. Pangalawa, kung ikukumpara natin ang isang registered firms na tumatanggap ng incentive kumpara sa isang non-registered firms, halos walang pinagkaiba. Kaya ang pananaw po namin, may mga incentives na unnecessary. Pangatlo po, sa bawat piso na ibigay natin in incentive, 32 centavos lamang in tax ang bumabalik. Pang-apat, pag pinagsama po natin ang lahat, hindi po ganyan kalaki ang benefit na bumabalik. Anywhere from 60 centavos to 1 peso and 15 centavos. So may mga papaboran natin, meron din naman yung mga unnecessary. Pero hindi naman ibig sabihin na pag tinanggal po ang incentive ay hindi po natin tutulungan yung mga pangunahing sektor. Kasi may iba't ibang paraan naman para tulungan sila. Halimbawa, pwede po tayo magbigay ng subsidy. Lifeline subsidy sa power, housing vouchers, skills training. Pwede rin natin solusyonan yung napakahalagang pangangailangan sa infrastructure, education, and health para maiwasan na natin yung paggamit ng incentive bilang band-aid solution. Kasi 50 years na natin na may problema sa infrastructure, sa education at health at hindi po natin mabigyan. Kaya ang tulong po natin ang incentive. Pero sa bawat pagbigay ng incentive ay bawas ito sa budget sa infrastructure, health, and education. To summarize, incentives must be performance-based, targeted, transparent, and time-bound. Kung ma-meet naman lahat, tuloy po ang pagbigay natin ng incentive. At kailangan natin ayusin ang monitoring and evaluation at ang mga industriya na napakahalaga, sila ay ilalagay natin sa Strategic Investment Priority Plan para ma-promote natin ang job creation, research and development, countryside development, skills training, at innovation. So yan po ang kwento ng Package 2 o yung Train 2 o yung Trabaho Bill. At sana po mas naintindihan niyo po yung layunin at yung rason namin kung bakit ito ay mahalaga para sa ating bansa. Maraming salamat po.
MPC, may questions? RJ? Microphone, please.
Hi, sir. You mentioned the conditions for tax cut under the Package 2, sir, right? Just a while ago. But the House of Representatives removed them to make it more predictable for businesses to plan out strategies. Now, how can we balance this while assuring a revenue-neutral bill?
Well, the first and primary motivation of Package 2 is to have a revenue-neutral stance. So for every peso that we save in unnecessary incentive, the idea is not to put it in our treasury to raise revenue, but to return it to those 90,000 SMEs who are paying 30% and now will pay lower. So that's why conditional po yung aming original proposal. Pero ang ginawa po ng House ay automatic reduction of 2 percentage point every 2 years. At so ibig sabihin sa 2021, yung 30% corporate income tax magiging 28%. And every 2 years thereafter, bababa ito by another 2%. So sa tingin po namin ay for sure baka may loss to. Pero iiwasan natin dahil titingnan po natin ang incentives na binibigay kung ano yung pinaka-unnecessary, yung pinaka hindi na kailangan. At yan po ang gagamitin natin para ibawi sa revenue loss, para ma-minimize natin. So anyway, the reform proposal is too early. Marami po naman opportunity para i-convince yung House kung bakit kailangan i-balanse at gawing revenue neutral.
So anong klaseng pagko-convince po yung gagawin?
Well, alam mo, tuloy-tuloy po yung aming outreach sa inyo, sa Kongreso, sa public. Halimbawa po, yung unang proposal ng House ay automatic 1% starting next year. Yung napag-usapan namin, yung risk of having a loss and higher deficit, naintindihan po nila. So ginawa na nilang every 2 years or dinefer. So yan po yung halimbawa ng continuing dialogue para maka-arrive po tayo sa isang balancing reforma.
Sir, the other tax packages, have you submitted everything to Congress?
Yes, we submitted all that we promised, all 5 packages. The last one was submitted on July 26. So, ipaliwanag ko lamang muna kung ano yung 5 packages. Yung una po ay yung package 1, yung train. Pero may kasama siya na hindi napasa. Ito yung amnesty and bank secrecy, automatic exchange. So, ito yung tinatawag natin 1B. Kasama rin po yung adjustments sa motor vehicle user tax. Yung package 2 ay yung pinresent ko ngayon, yung corporate income tax and fiscal incentives. Yung package 3 ay yung property valuation. Yan yung sinamit po namin July 26. Package 4 is on financial taxes and interest and capital income taxes na sinamit namin on July 24. Yung package 5 na naging package 2 plus na, ito ay yung mining, alcohol, tobacco. Ito ay nasubmit na rin namin earlier in the year. So lahat po nasa Congress na.
So sir, ang target natin is by year-end, pasado ito.
Sana po.
But 2019 elections next year, how significant is that?
Ganito po, yung president naman ay sinabi niya na napakahalaga para sa kanyang programa ang tax reform. At si Speaker Arroyo, sineryoso naman niya. Kaya bumilis, kaya hopeful kami na bibilis rin yung ibang packages.
Sir, sa budget, okay lang ba?
Budget?
Yes.
Kung alam ko po yung sagot, kung hindi, i-defer ko po kayo sa
Sir,
DBM.
economic managers meeting with President Duterte on budget because the House has this proposal of a hybrid budget. So what's the position of the economic team on that?
Yan, hindi ko masasagot. Baka si Asek Paula?
Sir, I think for the budget issues, it is really Secretary Bedjok who is in charge.
Thank you.
Okay, MPC question. Sir, may question muna si Pia Reñada ng Rappler. The current form of Trabaho Bill is revenue negative of losses amounting to around 62 billion pesos. Unlike the initial proposal of Department of Finance, which is revenue neutral, how will government catch up or offset this?
Opo, yung paliwanag ko ulit, yung aming original proposal, ang sabi po dyan, dapat maghanap muna tayo ng 26 billion in savings from the unnecessary incentives. At yan ang katumbas ng 1% reduction sa corporate income tax rate. Ang nangyari po sa House version na pinasa ay nauna na yung reduction, tapos hahabol na lang yung incentive. So, ang pananaw po namin ay yung 62 billion na loss, kailangan i-minimize yan. Kaya kami, nire-review namin ang mga tumatanggap ng incentives. Maghahanap kami ng 62 billion worth of unnecessary incentives. Pero hindi siya guaranteed. Pero we're hopeful na both sides will adjust.
Questions, MPC? Celerina. Microphone, thank you.
Good morning, sir. You have mentioned that there are companies na which are enjoying already the incentives for several years. Do you have any estimate as to how many companies would be affected if ever this law would be passed, and especially yung mga foreigners and Japanese?
Okay, punta tayo sa yung slide na may 645 firms. So, ayon po sa TIMTA or yung Tax Incentive Management Transparency Act, 645 firms po ang nag-enjoy ng incentives, yung forever, for at least 15 years. Yung iba abot na ng 40 years. So sila po ang sa tingin namin ang una naming i-review. Pero hindi naman ibig sabihin ay mawawalan sila ng incentive kasi may iba sa kanila talagang malaki ang pakinabang sa bansa. So yan po ang unahin natin.
Like anong klaseng mga companies to at foreign companies ba to?
Ganito po, siguro mix. May mga foreign, may mga large, domestic. So iba't ibang sektor pero yung detalye pwede kong i-share eventually kung available na. Mix ang composition nito. May domestic, may foreign, may large and may kunting medium. Pero halos lahat ay large and foreign.
Sir, nag-raise before ng concerns to ng mga companies, mga investors regarding this proposal. Have you talked to them and explained to them and assuaged their concern?
Halos 500 plus forums na at meetings ang ginawa po namin since the start of the year. So napaliwanag naman namin yung programa namin, yung reforma. Sila po ay pinaliwanag din nila yung concerns. So ang sabi po namin, hindi naman mawawala ang incentive kung sila ay abiding by our performance-based, targeted, time-bound, and transparent. Kasi ang problema ngayon, pag binigyan po ng incentive, lalo na yung 5% gross income tax, forever nila ine-enjoy. At hindi po natin alam kung may trabaho talaga or may benefit sa economy. Ang ginagawa naman natin ngayon ay tutulungan pa rin natin sila, pero time-bound siya per project. After the expiration of the incentive for that project, they can always apply. In fact, they can enjoy the incentives forever, so long as every 5 years or 7 years in rural areas, sila ay magpapakita ng innovation or some expansion na may technological change. So yan po yung gusto namin, para hindi lamang incentives na forever na walang kapalit. Ngayon ay incentives for a return, and that is either jobs or countryside development or so on.
Mainly, ano yung naging major concern nila?
Well, ang unang concern nila ay gusto po nila ma-maintain yung one-stop shop kasi ayaw po nila mag-deal with many agencies. So pinaliwanag po namin na hindi naman babaguhin yung one-stop shop. Pangalawa po, ayaw po nila mag-deal with LGUs kasi raw mahirap according to them. Kaya ang ginawa po ng Congress sa Trabaho Bill ay binalik nila ang share ng LGU sa yung single rate. Pangatlo po, ang sabi po nila ay ayaw po nila mag-bayad ng VAT kasi matagal yung refund. Pinaliwanag namin na yung refund ayon sa Train 1 ay inayos na mandatory cash refund in 90 days. So yan po yung mga ibang concern at paano namin sila tinulungan.
Questions? MPC? May Joyce.
Sir, on a different topic, the Malaysian Prime Minister yesterday announced that they are planning to cancel 2 big Chinese-funded projects because they fear it will cause bankruptcy. Sa side po ng Philippines, do we have the same worries or fears given that we will also be having loans with China for infrastructure projects?
Okay. So for our infrastructure projects, our loan structuring, because when you deal with foreign development assistance or yung ODA, we call it, iba-iba yung terms niyan per project. So right now, our economic managers are also in China. They're also finalizing the negotiations for these loans. So I don't think we have to worry because yung setup naman nila for Malaysia would be different from that from the Philippines. So when they come back, then we will ask them how the meeting went. So I think you'll get more information on that.
But can we guarantee that this will not, our loans, our future loans with China will not cause bankruptcy
For the Philippines?
For the Philippines.
Okay. So one of the reasons why we also did tax reform or Train 1 is so that we can assure that we have a healthy stream of revenue. So this is one of the reasons why we would defer we would be different from other countries, like for example, Malaysia, because we will not be bankrupt because we have already planned how to pay for these loans.
Questions, MPC? Okay na. Bernadette. Microphone.
Hi, sir. Hello. Hi, sir. Sir, in the implementation of this bill, do you see any job losses po, and how much po? Or how many jobs will be lost po?
Ganito po, ang proposal namin, yung mga necessary incentives, we will continue to help. So wala po kaming nakikitang job losses. Yung mga unnecessary incentives na matatanggalan na ng incentives gradually, the reason why they're called unnecessary is, in our opinion, they will continue to invest and operate even without the incentives because they are inherently profitable or there is a sure market. So sa tingin po namin ay kung may job loss, very minimal. At ang ginawa po ng Trabaho Bill ay naglaan po sila ng isang adjustment fund to retool and provide cash grants to workers who may be affected. Pero on the other hand, ibababa natin yung corporate income tax rate for 97,000 plus SMEs. Kaya imbes na magbayad sila ng 30%, over time they will pay 20%. So malaking savings ito which they can use to expand and create jobs. So overall, kahit may job loss, possible job loss in one or two sectors, ang overall economy naman sa tingin ko ay positive ang job contribution. So maglilipatan lang sa tingin namin.
Sir, anong sectors po yung mawawalan ng jobs, since you said there will be one or two sectors po na magkakaroon ng job losses? And gaano po kaliit yung minimal job loss po na sinasabi niyo?
Well, I'll give an example. Ang una kong sasabihin ay in the future, only those sectors that are in the Strategic Investment Priority Plan will get incentives. Pero next year pa yan available. So hindi ko masasabi ngayon kung sinong sectors ang ma-affect. Depende kasi kung whether or not they are in the SIPP. Pero ang alam ko, mayroon po tayong napakaraming examples of reform in the past wherein the initial fear of job loss proved to be very wrong. Halimbawa po, yung niliberalize yung airline industry and yung telecoms industry. Ang sabi po ng PLDT and Philippine Airlines in the 90s, it will destroy many jobs. Pero ang totoo po, ay mas lumaki ang kanilang mga korporasyon, mas maraming jobs, nag-create po ng mas maraming jobs in other industries. So sa tingin ko po, kung mayroon man, ito ay temporary, pero ang long-term effect is very positive po.
So are you saying, sir, na wala pa pong figure on the job losses po, even though na may fund na po tayo na tinatawag na structural adjustment fund
Yeah,
po?
yung fund is a precautionary motive para lang sure tayo, just in case. So wala pa tayong minimeasure na job loss kasi nga wala pa yung SIPP at tutulungan talaga natin yung mga firms or industries that are necessary.
Sir, kahit estimate lang po on the
Ngayon
job
po,
losses
wala talagang estimate.
Sige, sir. But the
Pag meron, bibigyan kita.
Sige, sir. But the structural adjustment fund po is about 500 million a year po. Tama po ba?
Yes, for 5 years, according to the Trabaho Bill.
So,
And then additional 500 for skills upgrading.
so hindi po ba to ibig sabihin na ina-admit ng DOF na magkakaroon nga ng job losses kaya ginawa po yung structural adjustment fund po?
Katulad sa budget natin, marami tayong mga funds, like calamity fund. Hindi naman natin ina-admit na may calamity. Pero just in case may calamity, may handa po tulong na hindi na hihintayin yung mahabang proseso ng pag-budget. So yan po ang ibig sabihin. It
So-
is parang safety net, just in case.
Okay. Sige, sir. Thank you po.
Okay, MPC, question, RJ?
Pahabol na po, sir. FEMSA left the country last week because of difficulties coping with their sugar tax. Is the government prepared to see more big companies leaving the country if it cannot act on the impact of the tax reform?
Well, hindi ko po alam kung ano talaga yung dahilan kung bakit umalis sila. Pero ang package 1 naman, tinax din yung mga gasoline companies, petroleum, coal, yung mga VAT exemptions, yung sa cigarettes, hindi naman sila umalis. So siguro iba't iba yung dahilan kung bakit po umaalis or may other reasons. So sa tingin po namin, hindi po naman very related ang pag-alis nila sa tax reform.
Okay po, sir.
Okay. Yeah, please.
Sir, Ted from GMA News Online. Sir, you mentioned earlier that the Trabaho Bill impact on inflation is very minimal. Na-quantify nyo na po ba kung ilang yung inflationary impact nito?
Ganito po. Una po, ang Trabaho Bill, yung DOF version, revenue neutral. So, dapat walang inflation. Tapos, yung Trabaho Bill ng House is initially going to be revenue loss. So, wala rin makokolektang revenue. Kaya ang inflation impact talaga, wala. Kung meron man, ay baka dahil sa ibang dahilan. So, yan po yung nakikita namin. Kung may final version na, uulitin po namin yung computation just in case may effect. Ang ginawa din ng Trabaho Bill, tinanggal nila lahat ng mga they retain the special incentives of food, agriculture, telecoms, and energy. Yung mga sensitive. So for sure, wala talagang impact sa inflation. Kung meron, baka sa ibang dahilan yan. Yes?
Yeah, please.
May dadagdag lang po ako dahil may lumabas na balita sa GMA News online. I think it was a week ago or a week and a half ago. Coming out of the Senate hearing, no, kasama si Senator Win at si Senator Bam, the question was on the direct and indirect effect of train. So balikan ko lang po yung package 1 sandali if that's okay. Natanong po kasi ni Senator Aquino kung kasama ba ang indirect effect, which is the sort of the second round effect of train on inflation. Ang medyo nalito po kasi kami during the conversation because there was a conversation right before that with Deputy Governor Diwa Gunigundo about the demand side factors, no? Meaning when people have more money in their pocket, isn't that inflationary? And as we know, it is. And therefore, ano yung effect nun on the higher prices? And actually, yun yung hindi kasama na indirect effect on the consumption side. But if I may please correct the response I gave that GMA News Online reported, that actually for the supply side factors, meaning for instance fuel, and how it affects the cost of other products down the line. Kasama po yun. Both direct and indirect effects were included in the DOF estimates that Yusek Chua presented to Congress starting last year even when train was being discussed.
Okay, last question na tayo. Bernadette.
So sir, since meron pong minimal job loss po, how can we call this Trabaho Bill po?
Well, actually, let me clarify. Wala pong minimal job loss. Kasi nga ang sabi ko, we are going to help all the firms that are necessary. And those that are unnecessary, we believe, will continue to operate and invest. And we also have the lowering of the corporate income tax rate from 30 to 20, which will create a lot of opportunities for expansion and job creation. So I want to clarify now, we do not see any job loss. But there is the adjustment fund just in case, so that we don't go through a long process of getting the funds available.
Okay.
Thank you.
Oh, sige, sige, question, Sinap. Microphone please, Bernadette.
I-highlight ko lang just one more, Bernadette. As I mentioned, there are only 3,000 firms receiving incentives and 900,000 micro, small, and medium enterprises with much, much, much more jobs that they can create or expand. So in the whole reform, that's why we do not see job losses. In fact, this is the bill or reform that will massively create many jobs for the economy as a whole.
Sir, nasa China ngayon sila CGD and SecBen. May mga inaasahan na po bang loan agreements na masasaynan? Kasi so far, parang isa pa lang na loan from China yung napipirmahan.
As of the moment, we don't have info yet because it's still ongoing. So, yung protocols kasi when you negotiate, you cannot disclose to the public how much and unless it's already finished. So right now, we still have no information.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, ASEC Alvarez. Thank you, Yusek Chua. And thank you, ASEC Lambino. Okay, thank you Malacanang Press Corps and back to our main studio sa Radyo Pilipinas and People's Television Network.